Welcome to the Oak and Onion Board Game Podcast, where we discuss the modern board gaming hobby and other things we're currently nerding out about. I'm Chris.
And I'm not Joel.
And we're here to remind you that whether across the country or across the table, the best things in life are enjoyed with friends. On today's special bonus episode, we're talking all about TokenCon, Oklahoma's board game convention. We spent this past weekend at TokenCon gaming, catching up with friends, making new friends, and just having a blast. We had the chance to sit down and interview the two special guests of the weekend, Paula Deming and Scott Brady, as well as Mike, one of the founders of TokenCon, a few local Oklahoma game publishers, designers, and more. But before we dive in, let's take a second to introduce our most special guest for this episode, my wife and primary gaming partner. Babe, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Hi, I'm Kaitlin. I stay at home with our 3 kids. I am a collector of hobbies like jewelry, painting. I've really enjoyed mini painting, plants, sewing. My biggest love is crochet. I really especially like making clothes like this. I've recently been learning how to make sourdough, and I've really been getting into audiobooks. So if you have any good book recommendations, let me know.
I will say that a collector of hobbies is incredibly accurate way to describe you, but I'm excited to have you on this episode with me. We do have a lot to talk about and some great interviews to share, but first, tonight we're both enjoying some blackberry tea in our 25th century mugs. So if that sounds good to you, go out and find you some, drink along as you listen with us. Now, we've got several interviews that we're going to be interspersing through our conversation here about TokenCon. Some of them ended up a little long to include the full interview in the episode, so we will include snippets of them, but the full unedited versions of the interviews will be up on our YouTube channel as well. Also, it being a convention, there was a lot of noise. Some of the audio clips aren't the best. We did the best we could, but there were a couple moments where it sounded a little weird, so bear with us and enjoy getting to know some great people that we got to interview.
So before we get too far into our weekend recap, let's take a moment to hear from Mike, one of the founders of TokenCon, about the origins of the convention and how it's grown and evolved to the event that it is today.
I've got Mike, who is one of the main guys behind the convention. Just going to chat with him and let him introduce himself and talk a little bit about the convention. So, Mike, why don't you tell us who you are, how you got into gaming, and then Mike is one of the guys that started the Oklahoma board game community. So tell us a little bit about the beginnings and the origins of that, and then how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Mike, and I'm the director of the Oklahoma board game community and the co-director of this convention with Paul.
Okay.
We started the board game community back in 2012, and it was me and a friend of mine, and we started it just in a little clubhouse in our neighborhood that you could rent out, and invited people to come there, and then realized that people don't necessarily like coming to some rando's clubhouse for a meetup. So we quickly switched to public locations and tried to do meetups at restaurants and stuff like that. And it really just kind of took off. And over the years, grew bigger and bigger. We grew a kind of regular following, and we kept expanding. And now there's, something like 30 volunteers that run hundreds of events a year all over the metro. So, it's gotten really big. And then in 2018 for TokenCon, kind of 2017, I guess, is when we started thinking, well, what if we did a convention? We've got thousands of people on Facebook and Meetup. Maybe we have enough to do something here. We decided we'd give it a shot, and we figured, let's get someone out here as a guest that would make this look legitimate. And we just, cold emailed Rodney Smith and said, hey, you want to come do a con? And he said, sure.
That's a pretty big get for your first convention.
When we told them we'd have 300 people, that was completely on faith. We didn't have tickets. I don't think we'd even booked the venue yet. We were early days, yeah.
And so the first convention was 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you said about 300 people that year.
Yep.
Tell us how it's grown and evolved and what's changed over the years.
Yeah. So 300 people that first year, then kind of grew to about 450 the next year. Then of course we had the COVID years for a little bit, and we ended up taking off 2020 and 2021. And that's when we moved it from October to March, and moved venues to a bigger venue, and it's just grown every year since. So we're almost 1,500 people this year.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome to me. Like, it's so cool to see how much it's grown. and we've expanded our volunteer base. We're almost 100 volunteers now. So every year it's gotten bigger. And
Do you have any plans for the future on what you want to see the con grow and evolve to, or anything specific you want to do in the future?
yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is just trying to keep it feeling like a community.
Sure.
You know, when we started the con, we wanted it to feel like a really big meetup where everybody still gets to see people they know and meet new people and feel like they're seeing friends and they're with friends, not in a big hall with a bunch of strangers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a limit to how big we want to get. Every year we try to make it better organized. That's always our goal, is better organized, more stuff to do, more ways for people to get to know each other and interact. And in the near term, definitely one of our goals is to like keep improving the technology we use to make the con feel more accessible and just easier for people to interact. That's why we have that Players Wanted app this year for people to like find other tables to play with. We're working on improving the play to win system so that it's easier for people in the future to choose which games they win and, or have more control over which games they might win.
Sure.
You know, that kind of thing.
So you personally, obviously, you do a lot of work during the weekend.
Yeah.
But you still get to game and chat with people a little bit.
Yep.
Do you have any, maybe it's this year, maybe it's a year in the past, what's like when you look back on the past TokenCons, what is the memory that stands out that just your favorite memory?
There's a lot.
Sure.
But I would say like I still can't forget the year we had Tom Lehman out because that was his Race for the Galaxy is like my most played game of all time.
Okay.
I've played it over 3,000 times, most of those on BGA.
Sure. I was gonna say that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I played that game for a while, like every day, just over and over. A BGA game's 5 minutes and 2 players, so it's quick. But I mean, I loved Race for the Galaxy, still do. But having him here and getting to play that the last day of the con after we packed up and everything, Tom and I sat in the lobby and played Race for the Galaxy till like 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So we played a game and then, one of us won. I'm like, let's do a 2 out of 3. And then the other one won. We're like, let's do a 3 out of 5. And so it was,
that's super cool.
We just had a great time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
Well, cool. Well, Mike, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us. I know it's been a busy weekend. Sorry.
I thought that was
No, you're good. I was getting there.
Yeah.
But thanks for chatting with us. And I told Brandon, we chatted a minute ago, like, we love TokenCon. This is our 5th one.
Cool.
And it's a highlight of our year every year. So
That's awesome.
I'm glad we could chat with you and share with the world a little bit more about what's going on here in Oklahoma City. Because I think it's great that Oklahoma City has such a solid communal convention, like you said. And so it's great. So cool. Appreciate it. And hope you had a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I've really enjoyed getting to know Mike and hang out with him over the past few years. He's a solid dude, and I love his heart for the gaming community in Oklahoma. We also had the chance to chat with Brandon, who is the art director for the convention, about how he got involved, what his role is, and what his favorite part of TokenCon is.
I'm here with Brandon at TokenCon 2026, and Brandon is part of the crew that runs the convention, and I just wanted to chat with him about what he does and how that role's evolved over the years and how he got involved. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do with TokenCon.
Well, I'm Brandon Anderson, and I'm the art director and kind of like one of the owners. So one of my roles when I first started here was just doing the artwork, kind of doing the branding behind it. One big thing about branding is it's not just a logo. It's about an attitude. It's about who we are and how we represent ourselves. I work for an ad agency, so that's kind of my background a little bit anyways. So that kind of helps me know what needs to be made, said, and done for the convention to make it really, really bigger than what it seems sometimes, but even better every single year. So that's one of my big things. I got started because somebody said, hey, here's a fun board game. I said, cool, this sounds and looks a little bit more out of my league, but once I was done with it, I sold it and found out, oh, there's a huge community of people. So I sold the game, and then next thing you know, I'm right next to the people that are wanting to create a con here in Oklahoma City. And then I said, yeah, I'll jump on board. And here I am.
So have you been a part of every TokenCon that's happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So from the very infancy of it all, I was right there, kind of like creating the logo, creating the look, kind of creating all the Ken, our little mascot, if you will,
the
Yeti, who has traveled through a lot of things. And there's a big story behind that, which we'll all get to one of these days, which will be a lot of fun. So
okay, cool. So what's been a highlight for you from this year's convention?
Oh, that's a good one. So one of my favorite things every single year is meeting our guests, and when they come in and getting to hear all the stories they have, because they've been to a lot of conventions I haven't been. So and that allows us to hear good and positive feedbacks, and also some critical thinking for the next years. But our guest this year was just amazing at letting us know how well we're doing,
That's
and
awesome.
and that we do have something special right here in Oklahoma. So
That's awesome.
it is pretty cool. So.
Awesome. Well, this is our 5th TokenCon. We've had a blast every year. It's a highlight of our year for sure.
That's awesome.
We love that Oklahoma City has such a solid convention.
Yeah.
And it continues to grow. So you guys are doing something right.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate it, man. And if you ever see anything you're not sure about at the TokenCon, let us know.
Yep.
Find somebody with one of these great pink little shirts on that we planned, and tell us.
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for chatting, Brandon,
problem.
and good con. And
Thank you.
we can't wait till next year.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so great to have such a solid convention right here in central Oklahoma, almost in our backyard. It's about an hour away from us, but this was our 5th TokenCon that we've been to, and it seems to grow and get better every year. So we're right now going to talk about our overall thoughts on the weekend, how it went, some of the changes that they made this year that we really enjoyed. Kaitlin, why don't you start us off and share what you thought about the weekend?
So I always look forward to TokenCon because we get to see all of our friends that live around here, but in another place. It was really cool to see it grow a lot. This year it felt like it doubled in size, even though it didn't. It sounded like that there were about 1,500 this year, and the first year that we went, there were about 1,000.
Yeah, so it's grown significantly over the past few years. A couple years ago, they went to a new location, which has allowed even more growth and them to do more with the convention. And some of the changes they made this year that I really liked is number one, they added a 4th day. So getting a 4th day with our friends and some games was a lot of fun because why wouldn't you want more games? Bonus. And one of the big changes that I liked is last year the library was in the corner of the main gaming hall. This year they moved it to a hallway that's right behind the gaming hall that was kind of wasted space in the past. And so they utilized the wasted space, but it also made room for quite a few more tables in the main hall, which especially Friday and Saturday was a big deal because the gaming hall filled up quickly. This year, they also introduced a virtual flea market, which I usually enjoy with the Board Game Geek convention. And if you don't know what a virtual flea market is basically there's a thread in Board Game Geek that they start where people can list the games they're selling, and people can potentially negotiate prices or make deals or make trades or whatever they want to do and commit to buying games ahead of the convention. So if you're traveling very far, you don't have a lot of space, you're not packing a ton of games that may not sell in person. And I really like that. I know a lot of people enjoyed it, and it seemed to go off really well for the first year. I've seen some other virtual flea markets first year at a convention that weren't quite as popular or used. And so I think it's only going to grow and get better. And I really liked that. Aside from a few small issues that we noticed, it seemed like the convention went smoothly. Every time I talked to the organizers, they seemed like they were in a good mood and nothing was going too crazy or wrong. So I think that's a great thing to see as an attendee, because when you see stressed out organizers, that can kind of weigh on you a little bit if you're empathetic like I tend to be sometimes. But TokenCon usually goes really smoothly, and I think this year was no exception to that.
There have been some really great things happening at TokenCon over the years, and one of those involves Cassie Sikes, designer of Jibber, Jabble. I did it right this time.
You did it right, good job.
Let's hear about her game design experience and how TokenCon impacted her last year.
And I'm here with Cassie, who is the designer of a game called Jibber Jabble that last year kind of made waves at TokenCon in 2025, and you guys sold quite a few copies.
Yes, yeah, this was, this is the first game I've ever designed, and TokenCon was the first convention that I ever went to of any type of convention. Like, I'd not been to a board game convention or any type of convention before, so kind of jumped right in and was just like, I'll just start selling this game I made and see what happens. And yeah, it definitely went very well, I would say.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about your gaming journey personally. Like, when did you come into the hobby? Did you grow up playing games? What were kind of your first games that hit for you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely grew up in a game playing family. A lot of card games, simple things like that. and playing things like Catan or the Game of Life. I mean, nothing too crazy.
Sure.
I had not really set out to be a game designer by any means.
Gotcha.
I wasn't even really aware of the board game hobby in general, but 5-6 years ago, 2020, so it would have been during COVID,
Sure.
was on a family vacation in a cabin in the woods and just kind of had this idea for a game. And I was like, hey, let's try this out. It was a game that we thought we could maybe play with like words from Just One or something like that. So we thought, let's just, try out a few different variations of it. It was really fun. And over the next 5 years, I would just get little bursts of motivation to, well, I should actually turn this into a card game and like print a couple copies just for fun. And
Sure.
played it with enough friends and family then that I was like, okay, I think I have enough people that if I printed like 100 copies, I could probably sell them as like Christmas gifts or things like that. So did that, a couple years after coming up with the idea. And then it wasn't until 2024 in the fall that I was like, okay, I actually want to see if I could market this and sell it. And so I posted about it for the first time on Facebook in the fall of 2024.
Gotcha.
Quickly sold out of the couple hundred that I had. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to actually like take this to conventions. I'm going to see if I could reach a wider audience, that sort of thing. So I found TokenCon. It was a local one for me. I live here in Oklahoma.
Okay.
I applied to be a vendor here to have a booth. Had no idea what I was doing, and just brought, I think it was like 100 copies of the game, something like that.
That was 2025.
That was
right?
2025.
Okay.
Yeah, so a year ago. And I was just, smiling at people as they came by my booth, hoping they would be like, oh, what do you have here? And just doing what I could to sell them. Yeah, but definitely, I don't think that I went through the traditional path of like prototyping and play testing and things like that. I kind of describe it as something that just happened to me, sort
Sure.
of like I just kind of kept going with it and let the dominoes fall. And anyway, so that takes us to last year at TokenCon.
Take us forward from that point. You've kind of had a really exciting year with the game, from what I understand, right?
Yes, yeah. So basically 2 weeks after I went to TokenCon, I went to a festival, the Great Plains Game Festival in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it was there that there was 2 reps from the publishing company Allplay that came by my booth. And I had no clue what Allplay, I didn't know who anyone was in the board game space.
Right.
So they came by with their Allplay shirts and I was like, oh, what's Allplay? And they're like, we're a pretty big board game publisher. And I was like, oh, great. That's really cool. I had just started thinking maybe I should look into actually pitching to publishers rather than try to just do this myself.
Right.
So I felt like I blew it. I thought, okay, well, that was probably the best chance I was going to get. And I didn't even know who they were. I did research that night, came back the next day and was like, I hope they come by again. Well, they did. They came by my booth later, either that next day or the day after, and was like, hey, we can't make any promises. We don't make the big decisions, but we really like this game and we think it's good. Would you be interested in reaching a wider audience? And I said, yes, please. Like, I really thought I screwed this up. So basically within the next couple weeks, I got in touch with their COO, Joe Wiggins. And he was like, yeah, we'd love to maybe look into making this an all-play game. And I think within a month after, like, first coming to TokenCon even, I had a contract signed with Allplay for them to license my game. So over the last year, they've had a full development team working on it. They've been coming up with like a more well-defined word list. This is a word game. I don't think we even said what the game is.
We didn't. We'll get there.
We get there, yeah. But just, fine-tuning it and everything, and they allowed me to be a part of that feedback process. They got better art. This is like what I was able to do using Canva and like Paint and stuff like.
Sure.
I'm not an illustrator or anything. And then this is definitely the new and improved version with art by Saibafu, and it looks great.
And their stuff's great. Sai,
Oh,
love.
it's amazing.
We played Vivo yesterday. We played
Yeah,
Soda
so
Turk
cute.
recently. Both of
Love
those
Soda
games,
Turk.
just adorable artwork. So
Yeah, for sure. So then, I mean, we've been working on it over the last year. And then just at the beginning of this month, they sent it to print, and ordering way more copies than I would have ever been able to order
That's
on
awesome.
my own, like in the tens of thousands, which is crazy. So right now, the plan is for it to get relaunched at Gen Con this year, and they have a ton of really fun media things planned out, like handing out thousands of promo packs to people standing in line waiting for their badges and that sort of thing. And then later on, we're getting like other language partners and stuff. Like we've picked up, I think at least the French version, like producer or publishers for that. So I'm going to be going to like Eschenspiel later this year too. So
Awesome.
just crazy. Definitely never anything that I would have expected, especially considering a year ago was the first convention that I ever went to. So it's fast track, but really, really cool.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
And thanks for sitting down and talking with us. And
Absolutely.
hope you enjoy the rest of the con and have fun this summer.
Thank you. It's going to be a whirlwind, I'm sure.
Yeah, so great. Well, good luck to you.
Thank
and we can't wait to see what happens.
Sounds good. Me too.
Man, what a cool story. Getting to sit down with Cassie, hear her story, and celebrate the upcoming release of Jibber Jabble was definitely a highlight of the weekend for me. Kaitlin, what were some of your favorite moments?
So my funniest moment was trying to use our son's gimbal. He let us borrow it, and we couldn't figure out how to use it. And you know when you're younger and you're trying to explain to your grandparents how to use the remote? I think I was the grandparent this time.
We're way too young for that.
So he said, send us a video. And so we did. And he said, you have to open up the arm, crying emoji. So I got to tell everybody that story.
Yeah, it was great. We've laughed about it ever since. To be fair, we knew it had to open somehow, but it felt like we were going to break it. And
I didn't want to break it.
Yeah, we didn't want to pull too hard. So he reassured us that we weren't going to break it. So we weren't necessarily wrong. We just were trying not to break his device. So for me, one of the issues this weekend is the air conditioner had some issues and it was kind of hot in parts of the convention. And so Mike decided, hey, I'm going to call an ice cream truck to come out, and everybody at the convention could go out and show their badge and get an ice cream treat Saturday afternoon. And I love ice cream. I'm never going to turn down free ice cream. And it was just a nice treat. Get up and walk around outside for a little bit, have a cool treat, and take a few minute break and chat with some friends in between games. So that was really cool. And thanks, Mike, for that. That was awesome. Also, not only did I sell games on the virtual flea market, I had a table at the in-person flea market to try to sell everything that didn't sell ahead of time, and I successfully did that. Now, I may or may not have sold one game for a high five, but that's beside the point. I came home with none of the games that I took to sell, so that was great.
That's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a little bit more space on our shelf, and so we're going to do some cleaning and reorganizing of our collection here soon. Yeah, we're going to do it together.
Okay.
I thought maybe, I don't know. You can do it all yourself, I guess. So kind of the last thing, and I think I speak for both of us here, was meeting and getting to hang out and game with Paula Deming. And I ran into her really early at the convention and just introduced myself and said, hey, I've got this new podcast. Is there any chance you'd be willing to sit down and do a little interview with me? And not only did she say yes, she was super excited about it and enthusiastically said yes. And then after the interview, I just said, hey, do you have any plans for the next little bit? She said, no, you guys want to play some games. So we got to hang out. We talked for a long time. And then she taught us flip tunes from Thunderworks games. And I taught her, Kaitlin, and a couple of other friends fishing by Friedman Freeze from Rio Grande Games. And it was just a great afternoon getting to hang out with her and get to know her a little bit better after watching her content online for years. And we had a really great time sitting down and chatting with her. And so I'm excited to introduce her to those of you that don't know her. And if you do know her but don't know her story, here's a little bit about how she got into the hobby and started creating content several years ago.
So I just wanted to talk with Paula and let her share about who she is and what she does and her content that she makes. So first off, can you just tell us a little about who you are and what your channels are, what kind of content you do, and where people can find you?
Yeah, so hi, my name's Paula. I grew up in North Carolina.
Okay.
And then X number of years ago, I think like 15 or 16, 15 years ago, it's been too long to be able to keep track. I moved out to Los Angeles.
Okay.
And then I met my now husband, and I grew up playing, I'm just going into my whole backstory. I grew up playing board games, the kind of board games that most people play growing up, I think, like Monopoly, Life, Clue. Clue was my favorite. And then my boyfriend at the time was like, hey, do you want to play like I have like Axis and Allies and Settlers of Catan and this game Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Ooh, nice.
Do you want to play something? And I was like, yeah, I like board games. And we played Betrayal at House on the Hill. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? This is a board game can do this?
Right.
And I was hooked.
And we all have that moment, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody has that game.
The one game that
did
makes them go,
for them.
wait a minute, this isn't just Monopoly?
Right,
Like
yeah.
this isn't just this boring thing
Yeah.
that my parents made me do and then we fought, you know, like
Right.
there's something actually really fun here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I got into the hobby.
Okay. And how long ago was that? Like, how long have you been active in the hobby?
I've been active in the hobby for like 13 or 14 years,
Okay,
I think.
nice.
Yeah.
So before the huge rush, late in the
I
20
feel like
teens.
right before, I feel like everything got really,
Yeah.
like we were playing games like Shadows over Camelot,
Okay.
and that's a game that like felt new at the time, or second edition Descent,
Okay.
where like people now would look at those games like no one talks about them anymore. Like they'd be
they're
like, it's kind of a
outdated.
classic.
Yeah.
That's outdated. Yeah, that's not a game we really play anymore. But that was like kind of the hot new thing for us when we
Gotcha.
started playing. So yeah, now it's just,
Yeah.
gosh, there's so many games.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So,
Yeah.
okay. So tell us about kind of where you went from there as far
Mm-hmm.
as when and why you decided to start doing content online.
Yeah. So we had a gaming group that we played with on a fairly regular basis, and it was about 50-50 split, men and women.
Okay.
And then we started watching content. Like we started watching The Dice Tower.
Sure.
We watched Shut Up and Sit Down. Man, we were big into Shut Up and Sit Down.
Okay.
That was like our Saturday morning cartoon. But we're watching all this content, and I'm just seeing a lot of men in all of it. And I was like, well, this doesn't make sense because women play board games. My group is 50-50. Like,
Right.
and there were some women making content at the time, but there were not as nearly as many as there are now. And I wasn't really aware of them.
Right.
And I moved to LA because I have a background in acting, and I was pursuing a kind of a more traditional acting career. And I had lots of experience making web series on YouTube that no one watched. I did a lot of those. And so I was like, I mean, I could make some videos,
Sure.
but I didn't want to do reviews. Everyone was doing board game reviews. And I was like, but I don't have like a journalistic background. I don't have like, I really felt like I'm not qualified
Sure.
to review a game. And maybe that was just me not giving myself enough credit. But I was like, I don't want to do reviews. People are doing that. Why would anyone care what my opinion is what I thought. I was like, but I do comedy. I mean, we make jokes about games all the time when we're playing them.
Right.
What if I did some like sketch comedy videos, just some like funny videos? Like, no, and at the time, almost no one was doing that.
Right.
You know, this is before TikTok or Instagram Reels. It was just YouTube. I was like, I don't feel like anyone's doing the short form comedy. And so I thought, well, I'll just try. I'll just do that. I like board games. I like jokes. I'll just do that. And then my first video did really well compared to what I thought it was going to do. Like I was like, Dream World, 500 people watched this.
Yeah.
And I think like 1,000 people watched it in the first day or something. And I
That's
was
pretty
like,
good for your first video.
what? My YouTube channel jumped like doubled in subscribers. I went from like 500 subs to 1,000 subs or something, you know, like, and I was just like, what's happening? And then Tom Vassell like mentioned my second video in like a board game breakfast. And I was like, I'm watching, I'm like, Tom Vassell just said my name. What's happening?
I've made it.
Yeah, I like literally, I screen grabbed the moment of the video. I paused it and I screen grabbed where he like has the like image of my video next to him. And I like
Right.
screen grabbed it and I like sent it to people.
That's great.
So we literally were like, okay, we've made 2 of these. I guess we should keep making them.
At that point, you can't stop, right?
Yeah, well, and it for me, you know, I had tried so many versions of performing and making videos that just like 100 people would watch or whatever, and
Right.
that's great and that's fine. But this was something that felt like it was hitting, like people got it, and it's one of the most creatively validating things I think I've experienced. And so,
Right.
you know, my partner was like, look, sometimes we walk through the doors that are opening. Like, this is the door that's opening, that's the one you should walk through.
Right.
And so I just kind of went in on, okay, let's make more of these. And so I started really just doing those sketch comedy videos. And that has branched out now to a variety of different things. But yeah, that's how it started with Things Get Dicey.
That's super
Yeah.
cool. That's great. Okay, so you mentioned the name, Things Get Dicey.
Mhm.
Is that, what channels are you on? Where can people find you?
Yeah. So my YouTube channel is actually just under my name, Paula Deming. And the sketch comedy series on it is called Things Get Dicey. So like if you go to YouTube and you type in either of those things, it should pull it up for you.
Gotcha.
So one of the other things I do, buckle up because I do a lot of different things. I am a cast member on the podcast This Game Is Broken. It's a board gaming comedy panel show.
Gotcha.
I do a lot of tabletop RPG actual play content these days, which is a thing I like started moving into. So I play D&D adjacent games. For other people's entertainment, you can find me on the Glass Cannon Network. I have a Pathfinder show there, and I play a variety of other games with them. Pendragon, another game that I can't say yet, but I'm excited about it when they finally announce that we're doing it.
How soon would that announcement come if anybody's interested?
I don't know.
You don't even know. Okay,
I don't
let's
even know
say.
if they want me to say that, but y'all, it's coming, and I'm so excited. Just stay tuned. And I play a ton of Call of Cthulhu,
Okay.
which is a Cthulhu-themed horror RPG, which is super fun. And you can hear me doing that on the show Push the Roll with Ross Bryant.
Okay.
And we do improvised Call of Cthulhu sessions where literally like nothing's planned ahead of time. We get
Sounds
like a
interesting.
title for a scenario, and then we just figure it out. It's so fun.
That's cool.
And gosh, what else? I stream board games on Twitch.
Okay.
So if you want to see me play board games live, I do that at twitch.tv/Paula Deming.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Paula, and we hope you enjoy your time here at
Thank
TokenCon in
you.
Oklahoma City, and
Thanks.
hope we get to connect again sometime.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay.
One of the things that we both love about the gaming hobby that we talk about often is how much community and relationships matter so much to everyone. And for the most part, nobody has a big ego. Everybody's willing to sit and chat and hang out and get to know you and play games with you. And so it was super meaningful that Paula was willing to sit down with our brand new podcast and do an interview. And we also had the same experience with Scott Brady. And he and his wife, Nicole, came through the flea market. I had met them at a couple of conventions in the past, but I just said, hey, I've got a new podcast. Is there any chance you'd willing to sit down and talk about game design with me and about the games you've designed, anything you got coming? And again, he enthusiastically said yes, and even said, I've got some new stuff I can tell you about, and you can share it with your podcast. And so that was super cool.
If you don't know Scott, you probably do. He has several designs on the shelves right now, including Hues and Cues, Boop, Caution Signs, and If Then is brand new. So let's hear his journey as a game designer and look forward to some of his new designs coming out this year.
I've got Scott Brady, game designer extraordinaire here. He's one of the special guests this weekend at TokenCon, and I just want to sit down and chat with him, get to know him a little bit better. We've met at a couple of conventions in the past few years, but just thought it'd be cool to introduce him to anybody that wants to get to know him a little bit better. So, Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
Sure. I am what they refer to as an independent game designer, in that I create and license my products to different publishers.
Yep.
As opposed to trying to produce and market them on my own. So it's much like being a book author, where I'm responsible for creating the content, in this case, creating the game. And then hopefully I can convince a publisher that it's good enough to publish.
Sure.
And then they have to convince the consumer to buy it.
Right. So what made you want to get into game designing to begin with?
I didn't have a desire to. There was never a point I said I want to be a game designer. My wife and I were working in the toy and game industry on a marketing capacity.
Okay.
And so I was involved in the industry, and we were reading lots of rule books and doing online reviews and all kinds of things. And there was a point where read a rule book and was reviewing a game, and I thought, I think I could do better because the subject was about something that I knew very well, which was color theory.
Okay.
And eventually I spent months and months and months just as a hobby at home creating what eventually became Hues and Cues.
Okay.
But I really designed it just for my family to showcase, oh, this is what I would have done. And because we had worked in the industry prior, I had people that I considered friends in the industry that I was able to show without it being a formal pitch that, hey, look at this cool thing I created. And actually those publishers were the ones that encouraged me to pursue it further. Because they said, oh, you've created something brand new and unique here. And that is eventually what became Hues and Cues. I signed it with USAopoly, and they've done an excellent job marketing it. And now it's in retailers literally around the world.
So that was your first design.
That was my first design.
And
Yep.
that first design is on mass market shelves everywhere.
That's
right?
correct.
So that's got to be a really cool feeling.
It's an amazing feeling. Let's not get that wrong. It was really a roller coaster. When I first started showing it to larger publishers, it was at Origins Game Fair in 2019.
Okay.
We literally had 7 companies pursuing us for the game.
Okay.
And I'd been in the industry long enough to know that doesn't normally happen.
Okay.
And I was fortunate to have so much interest in it. And ultimately, USAopoly was willing to move it up in their schedule. I didn't have to wait the normal 2 to 3 years for it to come out. Unfortunately, by the time they went to manufacturing was February of 2020.
Of course.
And of course, a month later, we're trying to issue a party game in the middle of COVID.
Right.
But in the end, it all worked out. They did a great job doing some alternative marketing, some creative things with radio, with print, some of the non-traditional marketing that we see for hobby games.
Okay.
And it's just continued to grow year over year. In fact, last year for 2025 was the first year they crossed 1 million units sold in 1 year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. The success I've had with it and just the recognition has really helped my career, of course, that I had this great hit at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely opened doors for me for, when I was ready to pitch other things.
Yeah. So you set that up,
Yep.
open more doors for you. So
Yep.
take us from Hues and Cues, move us forward. Where'd you go from there?
So, as I mentioned, Hues and Cues got issued during the pandemic. And I had a lot of people immediately writing me asking if I had 2-player rules for the game. And I honestly tried to come up with good 2-player rules for it. It's really meant to be a party game.
Sure.
And 2-player rules just didn't work. I personally love abstract games. Checkers, chess, Go, you name it. That's
Right.
my personal preference. And my next challenge was I wanted to create an abstract game. And to kind of also prove to myself that I had more than one in me and just
Sure.
Cues. And I knew that one had developed naturally based upon my career experience. So then it became a challenge to myself to say, okay, can I create something else? So I created this game called Gekitai. And Gekitai is the Japanese word for pushing something away or pushing something back in a military sense.
Okay.
Like if you're pushing the line back.
Gotcha.
But it all came from the base mechanic, which I called a shockwave mechanic, of placing a piece on a board and everything being shockwaved out, whether it be a meteor or whatever. And I came up with the basic rule set, called it Gekitai, and I gave it away for free on BGG as a print and play because people were looking for 2-player games that they could play on lockdown. It was something you could play by just printing out a board and playing with pennies and nickels or something like that. The interesting thing that happened was I started getting, of course, on BGG, you can follow your game and you get notified when people add stuff to it. And people were adding videos of custom sets they made. And I started seeing videos from Eastern Europe, from Russia, from all over the world of people who had downloaded the print and play version and were now teaching it on their YouTube channels.
It's so cool.
So I knew I thought I had something out pretty special there. So as soon as things started coming out of lockdown, I started pitching it to publishers then as well. We could not get it signed. Absolutely, people love the game, they love the gameplay, but didn't feel it was a product they could sell. And I had to go back to the drawing board and actually I tried a number of themes that worked with the mechanic and actually built a little wooden bed and had a friend 3D print me some cats. And that's where, at the time, I called it Pounce House. That was my name for it. And that's what eventually became Boot. And I started carrying that around in my game bag. And I had one of the publishers who had previously rejected the game a year earlier, ran into him at Geekway to the West in St. Louis. And we were just sitting at a table just like this, casually talking. And he says, oh, by the way, whatever happened to that game? Because he was one of the ones that liked it, but didn't think he could market it, didn't know how to market another pure abstract. I said, oh, let me show you what I made. And so I pulled out this 3-dimensional cat bed and showed him, and he took one look at it. And it was, oh, I could sell that. And signed with him right away, didn't show it to anyone else. I was just happy that it would finally find a home.
And now there's 3 versions of it.
There's 3 versions of Boot. There's this base game. There was a Halloween version that was basically the base game with a micro expansion built into it. And then a Christmas version, which takes it into a full 3-dimensional Christmas tree. In a couple months, there will be a new version hitting the shelves called Boot Shuffle, which is a card game version of Boot that does a lot of new, interesting things. The base mechanic is still there, but it's a very, very different experience for those who like the game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool. Yeah. And I know those are the only 2 games you've done.
That's right.
I know Caution Signs is what you co-designed with Danielle Reynolds.
That's correct.
And that racked up some awards the past couple of years in the convention circles.
We've been really happy with how that one's been accepted by the hobby, because we found that even with Hues and Cues, party games are sometimes looked down upon in the hobby, because even when I sit down at a convention like this to play, I'm typically not playing party games. I'm playing the latest Feld game or Rosenberg game.
Absolutely.
But it's been very satisfying to design things that are both accepted in the hobby industry as a party game with a little bit of meat on the bone to keep people interested, but then also crosses over into what non-board gamers would play. You can play it with grandma, you can play it with the 5-year-old grandchild. So Caution Signs has done a good job of that as well, to really bridge those generation gaps.
I appreciate your time, and if any of these games sound interesting, I definitely recommend them. We love Boop. We have the Halloween version. That's the one we like the best. And so check out Scott. Do you have anywhere online people can follow along with your designs and journeys?
So I'm most active on Facebook, and you can follow me there or send me a friend request on there. If your content on your own personal Facebook shows board games, I'm happy to accept a friend request, because then I know we're speaking the same language.
Right, absolutely.
But otherwise, you can always follow me on Board Game Geek as well.
Okay. So follow along with Scott and keep up with what he's got coming out, and some of them sound really exciting, and I can't wait to see them. So thanks again for your time, Scott.
Thank you.
Scott has put out some great games, and he's got some really cool ones coming out that I can't wait to try this year. And speaking of great games, we played a lot of them this weekend. Over the course of the 4 days at the convention, we logged 30 plays of 29 different games. 28 of those games were new to you, and 22 of them were new to me because there were a handful that I've played at other conventions or have tried on Board Game Arena that I wanted to try in person and show to Kaitlin and some friends. And so I played a few less new games than I usually do at a convention, but it was intentional and really enjoyable. So, of those games, we're each going to highlight our top 3 from the weekend. And Kaitlin, why don't you start us off? What is your number 3 game from TokenCon 2026?
So my number 3 is Ink by Final Score Games, designed by Casper Lab. One of my favorite types of games is something that has simple rules, but it's a tricky to accomplish puzzle. And this one fits that perfectly. The goal of the game of Ink is to place all of your ink bottles on your growing grid of tiles. And once you create a color group of those tiles, or with those tiles, that is the same size as one of the goals, then you get to put your ink bottles on it and get rid of them as fast as you can. You also draft your tiles on a rondelle, and so that makes for some really interesting choices.
Yeah, because one of the interesting things I liked about that game is you can go as far as you want around the circle, even back to the space that you were on if a new tile came out after your last turn. But when you pass the start space, you're getting a negative tile that's going to cover up some spots on your board that can separate color groups or take away something that you're working towards. So there was definitely some interesting tension there in the design on that rondelle choice. And those ink bottles were really cool.
They were very cool.
So cool. The components were great, and it looked really cool on the table. So my number 3 is Vivo from All Play, and it's designed by Leo. Now, we've talked on the podcast already. It's not a secret that I love a good trick-taking game, especially one that adds a unique twist without straying too far from what makes a trick-taking game a trick-taking game. And Vivo is from the Tiny Box line from All Play, and it does just that. The one tricky part of the game that may not appeal to everybody is it is a strictly 3 or 4 player count. Thankfully, we were able to play it with a couple of friends at 4 players, but that might be the only drawback to the game. And the game takes place over 2 rounds. And what you're doing here in Vivo is you're playing a standard-ish trick taking. There's a harmony deck in the center of the table that consists of solo, duet, trio, and quartet cards, and it's kind of a musical theme. And in an individual trick, one of those cards is active, and that dictates how many different suits can or need to be played in that trick. So if it's a solo card, whoever leads the trick, everybody has to follow suit if they want to play in harmony. If you play off harmony, you can, but you're not going to be included in scoring the trick. And so a duet card, 2 different suits have to be played. Trio is 3, quartet's 4. And it made for some really interesting moments in the game, especially when a quartet came out and somebody only had 2 suits in their hand at that point and they were already played, so they had to play off harmony and didn't get to be included in the scoring. Now, what the scoring does is really interesting as well, is if you played in harmony, you are able to be counted in the scoring. If you played the highest card and won the trick, you take your card and put it face down, and it's worth 2 points at the end of the hand. If you played in harmony and you played the lowest number, you take that card, put it face up in front of you, and it is worth its face value in points at the end of the hand. And again, that created for some really cool moments where somebody tried to like sneak a 5 or a 6 in there, and a lot of times it didn't work, but there were several times where it did, and somebody was able to score a 6, and it was a really high point potential there. And again, it plays over 2 rounds. Whoever has the most points at the end of those 2 rounds is the winner. And I really enjoyed the harmony aspect and how multiple suits are required to be played. I think the greatest thing for me is that it keeps standard trick taking the focus, but the couple of twists it adds were really neat and worked really well. And also the art from Sai Beppu was so cute and charming as always. If you've seen their artwork, it's fantastic and makes for an even better gaming experience.
Before we talk about our number 2 games, let's hear from a few local game publishers that were at the con. So we have Barron's Games, Scrapper Games, and Absurdist Productions.
I'm here with Aaron from the Barron's Game Room, an Oklahoma game company. And Aaron, I want you to just share a little bit about you guys' journey. When, why, how did you get started?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about some of what you got going on as well.
Cool, great. So the starting on all of it was honestly, I bought some themed like adventures dice off of Kickstarter with them. They were called Monster Dice.
Okay.
They were each dice was themed around like a dragon, a kraken, various monsters like that.
Gotcha.
I just thought it'd be really cool if they had some kind of social game where each dice actually represented the monster it was for some kind of game.
Okay.
Didn't exist, so I was cool idea, and I couldn't get the idea out of my head to the point that I eventually sat down and was like, maybe if I try and make something like that. And I made kind of a bad Magic clone. I think a lot of board game designers make a bad Magic clone early on in their career.
Right.
And it was okay. It's fine. It's probably never going to see the light of day. Called it Summoner's Rage. Yeah, it's still sitting somewhere. And it went well enough. And then not too long after, I had another idea, Super Combo Fighters. And spent a few weeks working on that one. Me and some friends tested it in a couple minutes. It was horrible, and we're like, this is the worst thing I've ever even attempted. But we immediately kind of hit a few new ideas, and that one was much better. And that's the first one that kind of actually was good enough that we were like, we should maybe take this out somewhere. We noticed a couple months later that the first TokenCon was happening, way back in 2017, 18. I can't quite remember exactly when that was. 2018, yeah. And so we're like, well, hey, let's take this new game that we've got out to that. And we met some of the other local designers, and from there, it just sort of is snowballed from that. From making some bad Magic clone to a game that was actually pretty decent, and now we've been doing this since then.
Okay.
That's the basics of how we got into all of it.
I gotcha. So, where, if people are interested in following along with you guys or potentially looking into your games, where can people find you online?
Yeah. Well, we're just the Baron's Game Room pretty much everywhere. Otherwise, our handle is sometimes just Baron's Games, but if you search the Baron's Game Room, I think we're literally on every major one. Facebook, we're even still on X, the place that is. We've been there from earlier on. We're still around technically. Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads. We're on all of them. TikTok and YouTube even as well.
Okay.
So pretty much if you're on a social media, we've probably got at least somewhat of a presence there to follow along. If you go to our website, baronsgames.com, there's a mailing list as well.
Okay, awesome. And I'll ask one more thing real quick.
Oh, good.
I see you got a sign over there for a game called The Cure follow-on backer kit. Tell us a little bit about that when you're launching.
Absolutely. So we technically, The Cure is one of our currently published games through the Game Crafter, print on demand, but print on demand stuff is kind of expensive since they're doing only one copy at a time. We're going to try doing another mass market run, more like Mini Meeple Melee.
Okay.
We've never used backer kit before. Kickstarter is kind of the main place where you do that stuff. But they are doing an event in May called Pocketopia, where if you're releasing a pocket game, you have a better chance of getting some extra push out there and all that. So we're going to see if it works for us. We're going to do a backer kit for The Cure, where hopefully we'll get funded and get to have an actual nicer print run of that out. And it'll be a little bit nicer version of the game we already have. Instead of a little cardboard box, it'll be in a nice wallet. And it'll certainly be cheaper. Currently, we have to sell that game for $20. If that's funded, it's $12 a piece. So a good price discount because you're ordering so much many more.
All right, so that's The Cure. Thanks for the quick rundown of that, Aaron.
It wasn't too long.
It's launching on Backer Kit May 7th, along with a bunch of other pocket-sized games. So if you love pocket wallet-sized games, this sounds like something to check out. And again, that's the Baron's Game Room, all over the internet. Check them out. And thanks for chatting with us, and good luck to you guys.
Thanks for talking with me.
No problem, man. Good luck to you guys.
Thanks
Look forward
so
to seeing more. I'm here with Evan Sprinkle from Scrapper Games. And Evan, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you guys are based out of, when and why, and how you guys started up a little publishing company? Just
Awesome.
give us a little insight into your journey there.
We call ourselves Scrapper Games, and we have 2 games that we have created. The first one is The Four Clans. It's the best trading card game ever made. And I know, I'm biased. But it's super exciting, super fun. It's very different in that there's no mana, there's no energy. You never get mana screwed or anything like that. You will have to have 2 decks to play, an army deck and a spell deck. And you use the abilities on your warriors in connection with the spells that you play to make all kinds of wild and fun combinations.
Okay.
And the whole point about the game is trying to destroy all of your opponent's warriors. So there's no life points. Kind of your warriors in your deck is kind of your life points. It's super fun. We have built it to where there are usually no like clog ups. You know, like in Magic, you say, I'm going to play this card. And then a blue player says, cancel. you can't play that card. No, we've never had that. There's always interactions, bing, bang, this way and that. This game is Arena. We just got this game put out this year. The origins really is just because I'm kind of a nut. Like, I found I am not fulfilled if I'm not doing something creative. And I have good things in my life. You know, I have a wonderful life. I have some amazing daughters. I love them. And I got good friends and everything like that. But I found, you know what, if I'm not doing something that's like half crazy creative, like, I am incomplete. And so that's where the game company came about. And I have a buddy that had a game idea. And I said, dude, can we turn it into a board game? And we did. And turn it into a card game. And we did. And it's scrapper games because we're scrappers. You know, like good scrappy dappy do. Like, we're the little dog in the fight, but we don't give up.
Gotcha.
And at the same time, with our limited budget, we really try to have high quality.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. All right. So, Evan, if people are interested in following along with you guys online, potentially purchasing games, where can people find you guys?
So we have a website called the4clans.com, the number, the4clans.com. And I also have an Instagram, the4.clans, and we post on there and stuff like that.
Okay.
We are in Sanctuary Comics right now.
Okay.
And we are looking to expand. Like, we really believe the heart of a good game community is the game shop.
Sure.
And we like to get in good game shops that have a good culture.
Okay, so that's the4clans.com,
That's correct.
the
yes.
number 4, and the 4.clans on Instagram.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So check out Scrapper Games. Evan, thanks for chatting with us.
Yeah,
and
thank you, dude.
congrats on everything that you got going on, and good
Things are
luck.
really
And
going great.
check out Scrapper Games. I'm here with Will from Absurdist Productions, and we're at TokenCon 2026, and we're just gonna chat a little bit about Will and Absurdist and what they've got going on. So, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your company, how you got started.
Yeah, so I am one of the 2 co-owners of Absurdist Productions along with David Thomas. We started our company in 2017. We published our first game, Chuasperia, in 2019. Since then, we published 2 other board games, Winter Rabbit and Paleo Vet. We've got a couple of solo role-playing games. And over here, we've got Mirror Agents, which is our new game. It's going to be coming to Kickstarter in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So 2017, that's been a pretty big journey.
It's been a pretty big journey, you know, and we've been kind of growing over time, right? It took us a little while to get Chuasperia out, and then we had a couple of years of break during the pandemic, and then we got Paleo Vet out in 2023. And, you know, we did our first print run of Chuasperia with like 1,000, and then 2,000 with Paleo Vet, and then 3,000 with Winter Rabbit. And then we're hoping that this one even comes up bigger, you know.
Okay.
And Winter Rabbit's been a great success too. I just found out last month that Winter Rabbit has been nominated for an Origins Award in the Light Strategy game category.
That's awesome.
So I think it's a really big honor just to be nominated for that. So
Yeah,
I'm super excited
absolutely.
about that.
That's great. Yeah, I know we played Paleo Vet not long after it came out.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Really interesting. Trying to figure out the efficiency of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's not super complicated rules wise, but there's a lot to think through.
There's a lot to think through, a lot to choose on your turns. And Paleo Vet's been great for like families. We've got a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm a board gamer, but I want something I can play with my kids that they will enjoy, and it's easy enough for them, but it's also still interesting for me, right?
Right.
So Paleo Vet's really hit that demographic really well. People really liked it when they're playing with, you know, new players or kids or whatever, because it really does still have enough meat that, you know, an actual gamer can get into it.
Right. And you guys are based out of Oklahoma,
We're based
correct?
here in Oklahoma City.
Okay. And so what does that mean for you for TokenCon to be kind of your home convention, local community supporting you? Like, what does that mean to you guys?
I love TokenCon. This is one of the most fun conventions we go to. We've been to TokenCon every year since they started.
Okay.
And we hopefully will be here every single year.
Sure, absolutely.
Going forward. But it's great because I know everybody, you know, and I probably have more people coming by saying, oh, I have your game, you know, I played your game, than I do people buying them new, right?
Right.
Because we just have all this support here in the community, all these people who are already like familiar with what we do and like our stuff and are really coming out to support us, which is so appreciated, you know.
Gotcha. So if people aren't here in Oklahoma where they can connect with you, Where can they connect with you guys? Where could they buy your games if they're interested?
So the best place to go is our website, which is absurdistproductions.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky and Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
If you're interested in our games and you want to buy them from your local game store, ask them to order it through their distributor. All of our games are available through distribution. And if your store doesn't carry it, just ask them to.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And Mirror Agents is launching.
Mirror Agents will launch on Kickstarter next month, so it'll launch in April 2026. And we're doing a lot of signups now, trying to get people to follow the campaign.
Okay.
And this is a really awesome game. So this game is a 2-player strategy game where you are moving your secret agent in behind the screen. So it's a hidden movement for both players, but then you're also both moving your guard out in the open, trying to catch your opponent's agent.
Okay.
While they try to fulfill their secret missions.
Interesting. Awesome. Well, cool. Will, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
Just trying to get the word out about some of our Oklahoma community and designers and companies. So I can't wait to see the Kickstarter for Mirror Agents and see what you guys have coming
All right,
next. So
thank you.
thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool to see so much good stuff coming out of some local Oklahoma publisher designer groups and companies. Seeing Mirror Agents on the table from Absurdist, that game looks really interesting, and I'm hoping I can get together with them and give that one a try sometime soon ahead of the Kickstarter. Let's dive into our number 2 games from the weekend. Kaitlin, what is your pick?
So my number 2 was Fromage from Road to Infamy Games. That was designed by Matthew O'Malley and Ben Rossett. In this game, you are, of course, making cheese. During your turn, you place your cheese on one of the one of your 3 cheesemongers on a wedge of the board that is facing you. Then the whole board will turn 90 degrees on a Lazy Susan. So that means your monger will also turn, and whenever it faces you, you will get it back so that you can replay it. So depending on the way that you played him, you may get him back the next turn, or in 2 turns, or in 3 turns. So that made for some really interesting choices, trying to balance, do I get him back in 3 turns, but I get the better option? Or do I, get the lesser option and get him back next turn because I need him for, my next turn for the next action coming up? And of course, you can see what's coming up next, so you can plan for those moves ahead of time. But it's such a cute theme, and I love cheese. I think next time we play it, we're going to have a cheese and wine party or something.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But I really enjoyed the worker placement. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is Nico Syndicate from 25th Century Games, and it's designed by Danny Garcia. The theme of this game is super silly but awesome at the same time. You are running a cat sushi mafia, and your goal is building the best network to make and transport sushi around your areas of the town. And so the way you do that is you're getting these cards that you're going to make a pyramid structure out of. And you start with one that's got like your lieutenants at the top of it. And when you gain a new card, you place it on the next level down, shifted halfway to the side of the cards above it. And you can build the pyramid into 4 levels. So on your turn, you're going to choose one of the 2 actions on your top card. And that's either going to be playing a new card into your pyramid structure, or drawing a couple of cards and discarding one and adding a new one to your queue that you can add on a future turn. And when you do that, that's going to dictate your starting point with your worker path that you will take with your meeple throughout your pyramid. And so you take that action, and then you'll move down to the next card, and you'll choose one of the 2 actions on it, and that'll choose the next card that you can go to and those 2 actions. And so each card has 2 options and will determine where you go next. And those actions that you're doing involve gaining fish, transporting fish to delivery spaces, and making rice for spaces that need sashimi. At the top of each of the cards are some delivery spaces that require certain types of fish, and some of them need the sashimi that you've got to make the rice for. Now, the cool part is the further you go down the structure, the stronger those actions become. For each row, you increase the action point by 1. So the deeper you go, the more powerful you can make your pyramid, and the more actions you can do in a turn. There are also some public objectives that players are racing to accomplish in 2 ways. Number 1, whoever gets it first is going to get the higher point values available. But also, each round throughout the game, the points get less. when it's accomplished. So not only are you competing with each player to get more points than them, you're also competing to try to get it sooner in the game so that you score even more points. And this was just such a unique and fun game. It's not super complicated. The rules weren't too crazy, and it played really quickly and was really engaging the entire time because it's all simultaneous action. And the artwork was incredible. The cats were super fun, and the meeples and other wooden bits looked great on the table. But the best part to me was the puzzle of the game, because you're getting these pieces of sushi, which are just cubes, but you've got to move them around your pyramid, and that can provide some really tricky moments of, how do I get this one from here to here, or do I need to produce the sushi here, or would it be better to do it on another spot to get it to where I need to go? And it was really enjoyable. We all had a blast with it, and I think the best part of the game is that it made us crave sushi so much that when we packed the game up, we loaded up in the car and we all went and got some sushi for dinner that night, and that was a blast. So
That was the best part.
that's the best part. But it's a great game, and I'm going to shout 25th Century Games out as much as I can at any chance I can, because they put out great games. Chad's a great dude, but this is definitely one that I'm going to look to add to our collection at some point in the near future.
So those were our number 2 games of the weekend. Let's check out the last interviews from the weekend. First up, we have the Gilded Grayland, which is one of our local board game stores out of Shawnee, Oklahoma.
I've got Matthew here from the Gilded Grayland, which is a locally owned game store in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And I just wanted to chat with Matthew for a second and let him share a little bit about the store and how they got started and what they've got going on. So Matthew, why, especially in the past few years, did you guys decide to open up a game store? What was the...
Just passion for board games, and we saw a need in our community. We had a local group of gamers coming together for game nights, and then our kids needed a place to play like Pokemon they were getting into, and there wasn't that need being filled in our community, and we decided somebody's got to fill the shoes, and why not us? And so we jumped in.
There you go. And so what year did y'all start planning it? What year did you open? How long did that process take?
So we started kicking off planning it in 2022.
Okay.
Right around actually when TokenCon normally happens, in the March zone. And then I think we came up with a name and did all that stuff this summer of 22.
Okay.
But it took us a little longer to open. We just had struggles with getting a space, and so it took us about 10 months to get open, and then in 2023 we opened doors and just had a flood of people just start growing in our community, and we haven't looked back.
Okay. What is the focus of the store? You know, is it board games, card games, events? What do you guys do? If someone's looking to get plugged into a small store, what do you guys offer?
I will say we have evolved. When we first started, we definitely wanted to be focused board games, and we still have that focus, but I think we're now very much split between TCGs of many kinds, board games, huge following of D&D players coming and playing on any night that they can find a table. They'll come in and sit down and play. We're pretty widespread. We do... different special nights like tavern. We have a tavern night where we can come in and just pretend to role play, and then we have murder mystery nights where you can come in and try to solve a mystery with the rest of the players that come and join in, and just other things like that. So
nice. And if people are looking to follow along with what you guys are doing, where can we find you on social media? Do you guys have a website? Do you ship if people wanted from a distance to support the store?
Yeah. We do. thegildedgrayland.com. And then we have a online store there, as well as if you're interested in singles for like different card games. Sometimes we have a section in our links page there. You can find some of the stuff we have available. And then we're also on Facebook, and then we have a Discord. Facebook is the Gilded Grayland. On our Discord, you can find that in our links page on our website at thegildedgrayland.com.
Okay, cool. One more question.
Yeah.
Because I know TokenCon means a lot to you personally.
Yep.
So what does it mean to be a small local business owner that gets to set up at your local convention? Like, what does that mean to you over the past
Oh.
years of getting to be here as a vendor in a business?
It's been lots of fun. I love being able to help people find games. Even sometimes we don't have it, but I want to make sure they know if you don't like. I'm blown away by the people that want to support local,
Right.
but also want to find the game they're looking for. That's just really important to make sure they found a game that they love, that they're going to enjoy playing, and that they found maybe in the game library upstairs, and they come hunting for it down here. And it's just been fun to see that. So throughout the years.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for chatting with me, Matthew. Again, thegildedgrayland.com. They're also on Facebook as The Gilded Grayland. If you're looking to support a local game store, check out their shop, order something, and play some games. Yeah. Thanks for chatting, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
The Gilded Grayland has a lot of cool stuff going on. If you're in the area or ever passing through, make sure to stop in and check them out. One of the regular events they host are murder mystery nights. So if you love a good murder mystery dinner party, make sure to check those nights out.
But if you're not in the area and you want to put on your own murder mystery night, look no further than Bearded Rat Mysteries.
I'm sitting here with Beth from Bearded Rat Mysteries, and I wanted to let her introduce herself and share what she does, because I know there's a ton of people that love murder mystery stuff. So Beth, give us a little bit of insight into who you are and what Bearded Rat is.
Well, thank you. Bearded Rat Mysteries, I write murder mystery games that you can download and print and play yourself. So my aim is for the mysteries to be very easy to host. So all you do is you download the PDFs and then you print them and you play them. You don't need to know who the murderer is. So if you're the host, you can play along. There's not a whole lot of responsibility other than printing. So all my games are a range of number of players and fairly family friendly. And that's Bearded Rat Mysteries.
Okay. So how many different game scenarios do you have available currently?
I think I have 14, but that
wow.
that includes I also have a couple cold case mysteries with just a download of clues, and you can solve it just by yourself, solve the murder. So that's not the rest of my games are group conversation games where you play with a group of friends and everyone plays a character.
Gotcha. How long have you been doing this?
Since 2019.
Okay.
Yes. I wrote my first game in 2014, but I didn't start the business until 2019.
Okay. And what inspired you to start it?
Well, I was helping to throw a birthday party for a friend of mine, and we were living overseas and didn't have the resources or the opportunity to just go out and buy a murder mystery game. So I said, hey, I'll just write one. I think I can do it. And I did, and it was fun.
There you go. Nice. So if people are into murder mystery games, where can they find you? Where can they follow along with what you're doing? And where can they purchase the downloadable files and host their own night?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Bearded Rat Mysteries. Most of my sales come from Etsy. If you're interested in looking at reviews, you'll see the most reviews on Etsy. But I also have my own website, and I also sell on drive-thru RPGs. So it's Bearded Rat Mysteries across the board.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, Beth. Hope you've had a great weekend at TokenCon.
Thank you. I have.
It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, great to chat with you.
These murder mystery scripts are a great way to level up your next dinner party, holiday party, whatever you have going on. And there are a ton of different themes that she has that can fit any occasion that you're going for. All right, we're going to pause on our top games. And before we get to our number ones, we're going to toss out some honorable mentions that hit for us, but weren't quite going to crack our top three for some reason or another. So, Kaitlin, what is your first honorable mention you're going to toss out?
Mine was A Place for All My Books. It was the cutest, most coziest game I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was great.
And the main thing in the game was the currency was your social battery. So whenever you do actions at home, you build up your social battery, and then whenever you do actions in town, you spend your social battery. But just to leave the house, you have to spend 5 social battery, which is a lot, which feels very true to life and how I kind of live my life with this, gauges above my head and social battery and have I drank enough water today and how tired am I?
I feel like that applies to you. I'm sure there are people that resonate with that, but that's not something I have an issue with. Judging by the fact the way the game went in the beginning too, after like 2 turns, my social battery was full and hers was still really low. It's great. Yeah, that game was a blast, and it was one that I had kind of overlooked for a couple of different reasons. One, it just looked like a ton of other games and didn't look like it added anything new. But I'm really glad we tried it because it was way better than I had wrongly assumed it would be. And
That's what you get for
that's what I get.
assuming.
Yeah, that's my bad. And my first honorable mention follows that same thought process for me and her as well. We saw it at Gen Con and didn't really look like, from a snap judgment surface level, that it was something we would enjoy. And that's Flip Tunes from Thunderworks Games. And Paula Deming taught us this one and we played it. And holy cow, that game was great.
It was so cute.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it was not the game we thought it would be. For one thing, we thought it would be more of a silly party-ish type of card game, but there was a lot more game there than it looked like there was going to be. And the artwork was great, and we had a fun time playing it. And it's one that I'd love to play again. I bet our kids would like it, and I wouldn't mind having it someday maybe. But
sure.
I really enjoyed that. So, what is another honorable mention for you, babe?
It's another cozy game called Tenby. It's based on the real seaside town of Tenby, Wales. And you're using cards that are building out your street of these cute little houses that are based on the real houses and real locations in Tenby. So that was super cute. And then you're trying to score the objectives that are on the bottom of the card. What is your next honorable mention?
My next one it's not going to make a top list, and that's why it's an honorable mention. But I wanted to shout it out because it, again, was more than I thought it would be, and that's Balloon Chasers from Very Special Games. This game wasn't on my radar. I've seen some pictures of it online, and it just looked really gimmicky with the 3D tree, and it didn't look like there was much game to it. And again, that was a little bit of a wrong assumption, but it's not the deepest game still, but there's more there than what it looked like. And it was really cool and satisfying to build the tree out and see it take shape on the table over the course of the game. And by the end of it was really pretty looking.
It looked like a really cool bonsai tree with all the pretty flowers all built up.
Yeah. So the puzzle there was more interesting than I thought it would be. And I'm really glad we tried it.
Yeah.
It's not one I'm looking to add in my collection. I would play it again if some people wanted to, because it was better than I thought it would be.
Before we share our favorite games of the weekend, let's hear from some other TokenCon attendees about their favorite games or moments from this weekend.
My name's Steven. I think my favorite game of the weekend was probably Brink. It had great little voting mechanic, worker placement, a lot of fun.
My name is Shaw. My favorite part of the weekend was the Dice Throne tournament I played in. First time playing a tournament. And the favorite game I played was Too Many Bones.
Hi everybody, I'm Shanna Dalheimer at TokenCon 2026, and my sleeper hit this time was Dewan.
All right, hey everyone, this is Ray Delheimer. I'm here at TokenCon 2026. I've just had an absolute blast. I've been a helper. I've been teaching new games in there. The Orloy game, I just think is fantastic. That company is knocking it out of the park. We have 2 of their hot games, Phoenix New Horizon and Orloy, and they're both fantastic. There's been so many activities. I've done a Dice Throne tournament. First time they're doing a certain format, it was a blast. And you know what? Paula Deming's here. She's a great person. It was really nice getting to meet her.
Hey, my name is Peggy Newbert, and my favorite game of the weekend was 1 to 5.
My name's Matthew. My favorite game this weekend, dude, honestly, I liked Return to the Dark Tower. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast playing it. We won, killed some monsters. It was great.
Yeah, I'm Lee Hues. This is our 3rd year coming to the con. This year we got to play a lot of games from my shelf of shame, so that was a big thing to get to come and learn to play games that I already owned. And I think my favorite game of the weekend was probably Coloma. I think we ended up playing it 2 or 3 times, and it was just a really great game, something that I've been setting on for a while, and finally got to play it. So it was definitely a great weekend.
My name is Kylie. My favorite game we played was Panda Royale.
Hello, I'm Kyle Smith from the Gilded Grayland in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Probably my favorite part was going to eat some sushi with some dear friends, Chris and Kaitlin, and getting to spend time with them and enjoy some delicious food for the first time because of that surgery. And then my favorite game of the weekend is probably Ada's Dream, which is kind of a story about Ada Lovelace and you doing some rondelle movements, and it was just a gorgeous and wonderful game. And I think those have been my highlights.
Hey, I'm Ethan. My favorite part of the weekend was just getting to see everybody that I don't see very often. And my favorite game that I played was probably Dune Imperium Uprising. That was a lot of fun. We didn't get to finish it because it took way too long, but it was a lot of fun. So.
Hey, it's Eric from Monster Gaming here. Check out us on YouTube. Had a lot of fun playing Moon Colony Bloodbath. That was great. Great engine builder. Fantastic game.
My name's David, and my favorite game was Kemet Blood and Sand, and not just because the game is awesome, but also because I got to play with at TokenCon, where I had plenty of people to play with. Played with the largest account we played with so far, so it was awesome.
My name is Blaine, and my favorite game this weekend, I think, was Covenant.
Covenant?
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the weekend?
Playing with all my con friends.
I'm Angela. My favorite part of TokenCon is obviously trying new games. I really love playing Fit to Print and the whole point system, which is Point Salad, Point City, and Point Galaxy. But Point Galaxy, I think, was my favorite.
I love how everyone had something different to say and different ideas about what their favorite thing was. It just goes to show you how many great games there are out there that will fit everybody's taste. So Chris, what is your number one game from TokenCon?
I'm going to go with Ada's Dream from Alley Cat Games, and this is designed by Tony Lopez. There's way too much happening in the game to try to explain it too much and get too deep into it, but it's a heavy Euro, and it's themed around Ada Lovelace when she was working with Charles Babbage to build out a machine that kind of became the computer system that we know today. And the goal of the game is to carry out her dream and gain the notoriety that she deserved and was overlooked at the time, being a woman in that time period. And I just think, number one, that's a really cool theme to try to go back and try to give her the credit that she deserved to carry out her design. The game features several different mechanics, including dice drafting, rondelle of action choices where you're moving the dice and drafting from. You've got research tracks. You've got a grid coverage puzzle on your player board. And on your turn, you're either going to choose to move and take a die from the workshop on the board, add it to the queue on your board, and in the process gaining resources and bonus actions, or you're going to take one of the dice on your board and move it to your machine and take the matching color of the die action on the board. So there's 4 different colors of dice. There's 4 different main action areas on the board, and they're color coded. So if I use a green die, I'm going to take an action in the green area of the board. And the whole goal of the game is to try to build out your machine. And it's this interesting grid puzzle where you're placing your dice, and the values of the dice matter for scoring at the end. And then in between the dice, you're trying to place these modifier tokens that will add, subtract, or potentially multiply the dice values. And you're also trying to gain these gold tiles that will score you bonus points based on satisfying the criteria of what dice you have in that row or column. And so there's a lot of moving pieces going on with that puzzle, and really everything you're doing on the board relates to trying to do that well for in-game scoring. Now, I did not do that well in the slightest bit. I did horrible. I think I came in last out of the 4 of us that played it by a long shot. But I enjoyed every moment of the game and the decisions that it offered, and trying to poorly figure out the efficiency of moving forward in the game and gaining as many benefits and points as possible. There's a lot to explore. There's a lot of layers to dive into. And it can be very satisfying if you are our buddy Kyle and you manage to pull it off well. And this is another game from Alley Cat that just hits that sweet spot for me. I've tried several games of theirs, and every one of them, I'm halfway through playing it and I say, I want this game on my shelf. And Ada's Dream is no exception to that continuing trend. The unfortunate part is it's going to be really hard at this point to find a copy of the game. So hopefully one comes available soon because number one, I want to prove to myself that I can do better at the game, but also it was just a blast and I want to play it again. So that is my number one. What about you, babe?
Mine is Tend with TEND. I think people kept thinking I was saying 10.
Which is a card game.
Right.
So.
I think that's what they were thinking. Anyway, so that is from Ivy Studios. This game is so beautiful and huge. I feel like I can't really even get close to describing it. But the main things are it's a flip and write. And so each turn you're going to flip over a set of cards that will have resources on them. And everybody simultaneously uses 2 of those resources to put on your various boards to accomplish various goals. So there were 2 big sheets that had fishing, farming, you had like a Tetris type puzzle, and then some goals that you were collecting resources to get badges, and they would also give you more resources. But the like coolest part was you had this little scratch off board and you would either go mining, so you would scratch off a little square and find a gemstone or find more axes, which was cool, or you would go through the forest getting wood. And so I jokingly said, I'm gonna con my son into playing with us, so that telling him it's Minecraft. But it was really fun to try to coordinate all of your resources so that you could optimize all of your boards at the same time.
Yeah, that was a fantastic game. I've tried several IV games and they haven't necessarily been big hits for me, but they got me with this one.
Yeah.
And it was a blast.
Oh, because the art was amazing too.
Yeah, the art looked great. And we played the retail copy with our friends Blaine and Shaw, who we got to hang out quite a bit with this weekend. And she mentioned how she wanted the deluxe version that has these stamp pins. So the Tetris type grid that Kaitlin was talking about, with the retail version, you got colored pencils and you just color in squares with the corresponding color. But the retail version has a dual-ended pen. One of them is just kind of like a bingo dauber marker tip.
Dauber.
But the other end is a stamp, and the icon that you're stamping is the icon that corresponds to the resource and the color that you use with your colored pencil. And we got to see some people playing it because the library for the convention had the deluxe version in the library. And the night we played it, we were leaving for the night and we walked past the table and they had it out. And we were like, can we stop and like ogle this real quick and be awkward? And so they
shiny cards.
Yeah, every day, like foil box cover and organizer trays. And then they showed us the stamp pins and it was super cool. But yeah, that game was a blast. Their games are always well produced and really good components and fantastic art. But this one is definitely my favorite that I've played of theirs. Well, all right, that is a wrap on TokenCon 2026. Kaitlin, thanks for joining me for this special bonus episode of the podcast.
You're welcome.
And a reminder that if you're interested in checking out the full unedited interviews that we featured in the episode, head over to our YouTube channel. It's Oak and Onion Podcast. While you're there, hit the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with future content that we release. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That is the #1 way we can grow the show and bring you more Oak and Onion action. If you want to see what Caitlin's up to, you can check her out on Instagram and TikTok at Crescent City Hippie.
And you can check out Chris on Instagram at CPWilson_4.
You can also follow our Facebook page, Oak and Onion Podcast. If you have ideas for show segments, suggestions for games we should play, or you just want to say hi, email us at oakonionpodcast@gmail.com or follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at Oak Onion Podcast. Until next time, keep your onions fresh, your cutting boards clean, and your table welcoming to everyone. We'll catch you next time. We're going to go catch up on some sleep.
Designer of Jibber Jabble. Nope. Jibber Jabber.
Jibber Jabber.
That's hard to say.
I think that's the point, though. The game name.
I want to say, my body's like, Nope.
Nope. I don't know why I said if not.
F is bearded rat. Let me start that over again because I couldn't. I was like, what's the last word?
Right. You can like edit in a funny bit here.
Yeah. What?
This is great. You should get this. This is part of what being at a convention's like.
Yeah.
You should get this footage.
Oh, I did it again. Forget. Oh, let me not hit the table. And that's the Baron's Game Room. Check them out on. Oh, what did you do?
It's 4 studios.
4 studio.
Okay.
All right.
Do I have to say all of that?
No. So Kaitlin, what?
Okay, we're gonna get through this.